Liverpool agree a full and completed deal for Hugo Ekitike. It will cost over 90 million for the striker, but the deal is complete. The medical is set to move forward. Liverpool winning the race, signing Newcastle's #1 striker target this summer. We're delving into this story. Plus, will Gyokeres happen today? There's also a Sancho bidding war that could be happening. Hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribing. Let's do this, people. This is the Done Deal Show. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Done Deal Show. And there is a big here we go this morning. Hugo Ekitike to Liverpool Football Club. The deal is set to complete. Fabrizio Romano, of course, dropping the big bomb this morning. I actually think, though, just looking at the timings, it was Fabrice Hawkins. No, it was Fabrizio. So I'm just checking the timestamps here. Fabrice Hawkins has also tweeted about this, has also confirmed this news as well, that a total agreement had been reached between Frankfurt and Liverpool, 95 million euros with bonuses on a 6-year contract for the player. That is from Fabrice Hawkins. Fabrizio says here, 6-year deal, valid until 2031. Of course, it's 6 years. He only wanted the Liverpool move. And I think that there is maybe the sobering element. If indeed you're a Liverpool fan that's thinking there might be some kind of move for Isak, where Newcastle go and get Hugo Ekitike. That being said, if Liverpool were to pull away from this stage, what's he going to do? Stay in Frankfurt? I doubt it. He's made his case clear that he wants to move on. However, we can get into all of that in a few moments' time. First of all, get the like buttons hit, get the like button smashed. Make sure you are subscribing, bell notification, get that turned on for us. Very important to the channel that is done. So thank you to everybody that has done that so far this morning. We're going to go to some of your comments as well. But from my point of view and from my perspective, I look at this situation, and I just said it last night, and I'm going to say it again now. This is fantastic business by Liverpool Football Club. This is fantastic business. You are going to get salty football fans who are going to look at the fact that he only scored 15 goals last year, and that's fine. You're allowed to do that. Stats are an important part of football. I look at stats. I use stats to partly judge players all the time. If you've watched Hugo Ekitike play, if you've read anything about him, if you've gone through the scouting reports, if you've done your personal due diligence, if you haven't watched him play a lot, then fair enough if you're skeptical. That makes a lot of sense if you haven't watched him play. But if you have, then you know what a talent. You understand his ability on the ball, how he's able to facilitate. He has that element of Firmino about him, where he may not in a game always be the centerpiece, where the ball's going to end up at his feet for the shot. The ball's going to be like a Ruud van Nistelrooy. It was the centerpiece of Man United's attack for many years, where the ball would nearly always end up at his feet for him to put the ball into the back of the net. That isn't typically how Ekitike has played for large parts of his career, but he has so much more to his game. And I remember Gary Neville talking about Firmino when he was at Liverpool and how he felt he was the best number 9 for a period in the world, not because of his output numbers, but everything he brought to the team. And I think Hugo Ekitike has a similarity in that way to his game. Plus, not all strikers are prolific at 18, 19, 20, 21. For a lot of strikers, it comes later in their career. Harry Kane was early 20s, Batistuta, Teddy Sheringham, Tony, Drogba. A lot of these players were 21, 22, 23 when they just started on that road to scoring lots of goals. Even Cristiano Ronaldo, that wasn't an out-and-out number 9, It wasn't until these early mid-20s that you started to see these astronomical numbers from him in terms of putting the ball into the back of the net. And because there is a very technically gifted player in Hugo Ekitike, it's one of those situations where I'm pretty sure, I don't know what you think, that he can develop that part of his game. It shouldn't be too difficult with the right drills and the right training. But let's see what Arne Slot has in store for him. But overall, I said it last night, I'm going to say it again today. I think this is a fantastic piece of business. Yes, it's a lot of money. Yes, some people are going to banter Liverpool because they're spending a lot of money. But he's a class act. He's a really, really class player. And look, is that 11 assists and 9? I think that's 11 assists and 9 goals, unless I'm misreading the statistics, because people are bringing statistics into this, which is fair because we all bring statistics up. But 11 assists and 19 goals last season. So 30 GA in 45 appearances. So if you want to start going into the numbers of a player, I love how people pick and choose what competitions to leave out. That's 30 goals and assists divided by 45 appearances. That's a 66% ratio. It's pretty damn good. Just turned 23, got years ahead of him, still got his best days ahead of him, good availability, wonderful physicality, 66% output ratio. So in 66% of games, he's scoring and assisting. And if you look at how he facilitates, so how he works in the general play, excellent player. Only salty rivals are going to be kicking off about this. That's it. Simple and as straightforward as that for me. I hate the fact that Liverpool have done it. I hate the fact that Liverpool brought him through the door, but I'm not going to sit down and pretend that it's suddenly some really bad deal that Liverpool fans should be upset about, should be angry about, should be cursing about. Not going to do it. Not today. Not today at all. Can't do it. Let's go to some of your comments that have come in here this morning on the show. This here says, this is a shocking deal. Terry, you're such a glazer. Well, that's not an argument. You can call me names if you want to, but present an argument. Counter what I'm saying with words, not insults. Come on now. Jay King says, so excited for this move. It feels like he fits this Liverpool team like a glove, slightly on the higher side when it comes to cost, but I'm buzzing. Well, look, this is what's also happened here. Liverpool are in negotiations with fantastic negotiators. So you've got almost an unstoppable object versus a immovable object. So I think both are going to end up being happy. I bet you that Liverpool have got very good payment terms. I bet the add-ons are going to be relatively difficult to execute. But Frankfurt sell their players for a lot of money, and they're very, very good at doing it. It's as simple and straightforward as that. And the disadvantage, I know now Ekitike saying he only wanted Liverpool. The disadvantage Liverpool had is that somebody else was chasing the player, like legitimately chasing him in Newcastle. So they had to act quickly. They didn't have days and weeks and months to negotiate. You also lose that time. Like we said before, transfer deadline day is like a black hole in space. No, it distorts time. The closer you get to that black hole, the faster time moves. And we're still 6 weeks away from deadline day, but we're not that far away from the start of the Premier League season. And I felt this all along due to the Club World Cup. I think Liverpool and Arsenal really want to start the season off, start the ground running in case there is any hangover from the cities and the Chelsea's, especially through not having a full and proper rest in pre-season. So having him in now, I think is very, very key. Rems here says, I think Ekitike will be a massive improvement on Núñez. We don't necessarily need him to score 20-plus league goals a season. Not straight away. There may be a necessity for that later down the line. But if you've watched him play, you've watched Darwin Núñez play, there is a fundamental difference in the technical ability of these two players. It's night and day from each other in terms of the overarching technical ability between these two football players. So there is clear blue water. So I absolutely agree with you 110%. 110% to that. 40-year-old Virgil says, rivals salty. Liverpool are finally spending like they have for a decade. This year says it's 78 million plus add-ons like Núñez. Liverpool can sell for 55, 65 million if it doesn't work. Stop crying. Everyone wanted Ekitike. This is a really good point. Liverpool are very good sellers. They'll maintain some of that value. It's 95 million in totality. The same as Man United is 71 million in totality for Mbeumo, which I reported on. But there are add-ons there, and everybody picks and chooses. I mean, Sky Sports are shameless, really. This isn't a dig at Liverpool. It's not Liverpool's fault. But they keep reporting on Liverpool's transfer. This transfer is X plus add-on, but with Man United, they just do the total amount. And this frustrates fans. But yeah, it's a great breakdown there, my friend. A great breakdown. What the hell is going on in the Newcastle war room? They are getting gazumped left, right, and center. Well, what's happening, Kermit, is that they're trying to up their levels. They're trying to go from where they've operated to a new stage. And they've bought some really good players in that time. Bruno Gyokeres, they got Tonali, but they're trying to up their ante now. But it's happened at a very interesting time. It's happened at a time where players have got relatively good buyout clauses, running their contracts down, gentlemen's agreements. So I think we've seen players go, although they've gone for a lot of money this year, and everyone's like, oh my God, look, 50 million for him, 50 million there. Clubs would have been charging 20 to 30 million more 2 or 3 years ago. The landscape is changing. So what's happening now is Newcastle are trying to spend, but at the same time as Newcastle spending, players are available a little bit cheaper than a couple of years ago. And because I guarantee you, Mbeumo would have had a 80, 90 million pound price tag put on him if he had 2 or 3 years left on his contract. And what a lot of these players were doing is they just kept on renewing every 18 months to 2 years. Spurs were famous for this with Dele Alli and Harry Kane as an example. And it was just, there was always 4 or 5 years left on all these players' deals. Clubs kept on saying, right, you're on 30 grand a week, I'll put you on 40. All right, 18 months later, look, we're going to put you on to 75,000 pound a week, but we're extending it. And by the time the bigger clubs said, right, we want that player, they got 5 years left on their deal and it was ridiculously expensive. So all of that's happening. Now what's going on is Newcastle are trying to spend, but players are available at more affordable prices, and the bigger, more attractive, more powerful clubs are just gazumping them. It's almost like the nature of the beast in many ways. It's just what happens. This here from Marcin says, hate how good their business is. Do you feel like there is a risk on getting their signings outside the league? Let's have a look here. Quite a few of them need to adjust. The one risk that Liverpool have is it's quite a lot of new players at once. And there's always this view that they may not gel, but they have a core. The core is remaining. That core will help them gel together. The thing of buying outside your league, buying good quality players from your own league is a tried and tested method that works. We did the maths on it. We did the facts a few weeks ago. All the most successful teams from all the top leagues in Europe, barring PSG, theirs is slightly different. The rest of them all buy the predominant league they buy from is their own. However, and this needs to be remembered in this conversation, that all those same successful clubs also, their number 2 and number 3 leagues they buy from, which typically make up 70 to 80% of where they get all their players from, is La Liga and the Bundesliga. So when you look at where the Real Madrids, where the Liverpools, where the Cities, where the Barças, where all these teams have challenged and or won all the major trophies in the last decade, England, Germany, Spain is where they all typically buy a large percentage of their players. So is it a risk? Not too much. For me personally, looking at this, it isn't too big of a risk in my personal opinion. Just my personal opinion. I don't think it's that big of a risk. Let's look at some more of your comments here. Just got to scroll back up. My argument, he has 0 international caps for France, 0 trophies, 0 Champions League experience. For that price, it's shocking. So let's challenge that back. He's French, right? So him not start getting into the French national team yet, I don't see that as a bad thing because of what's ahead of him. So there are lots of players that have international experience, which is good for your development, granted. But it depends what players are. Andy Cole is one of the best Premier League strikers ever. But he was a brilliant Premier League striker when there was just 4 or 5 other English strikers that were also as good or better. So him not playing for England didn't mean that he couldn't deliver elsewhere. When Manchester United signed Andy Cole for what at the time was a record transfer fee, he was barely kicking the ball for England. He wasn't playing in the Champions League because he was at Newcastle. So I've seen these things before, and it's about that you can look at statistics, and statistics are important. But as we've just shown you, he scored and assisted in 66% of his games last season. Your argument holds some water. It does. But when I watched Andy Cole as a young man, when Man United were buying him, nobody was worried about the lack of international pedigree, the lack of Champions League experience at that stage of his career, because we saw what a brilliant player he was. Goes on to be one of United's and one of the Premier League's greatest ever strikers. So I hear your argument, and I'm just giving you an example of where it doesn't always hold water. Now, you could be right, and he could flop, and he could be awful. But this is the thing for Liverpool and the money they're spending. They're seemingly going to get most of their money. I don't do net spend. Someone actually yesterday said Terry did do net spend. I didn't. It's about bringing income in. Even if we use the fake net spend calculator, the Darwin Núñez deal is going to end up only costing Liverpool like 10 to 20 million pounds. They will recoup most of this money if they sell him in 3 or 4 years. So I really wouldn't be too worried if I was a Liverpool fan about the finances here. Newcastle fans losing it over this. Imagine the meltdown in the coming days when Isak asks to leave. Well, look, we are talking other things as well today, and that was something I wanted to discuss about Isak's potential exit, because you've got all the stuff yesterday protecting him from the cameras and the questions. By the way, a preseason game that the world's media was not at. Nobody knew. If they would have won yesterday, nobody would have known about it. If Eddie Howe hadn't have said anything, I wouldn't have even known he didn't play. There was no need for him to say any of that. It was ridiculous. You've got the Saudi clubs knocking on the door, wanting to get involved. There's a really big chance he stays. I've said that all along. I'm not going to change my mind. There's a really, really big chance that he stays. Absolutely. But there's something strange about this Isak situation. Something about it that doesn't quite feel right to me. And I'm not too sure. I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it is. It might just be the bad PR. It might just be the constant, he's not for sale unless you give us 150 million. He's not for sale unless you meet this requirement. We don't really want to sell him. And you get the fans go, Terry, 100%, you got to listen to us. The club is not going to do it. It's 100% a guarantee. And then it's the third time I've heard Eddie Howe say he's confident, but can't guarantee a player's going to be here. I just want your views on it. I want your views on it right now, people. I hate how good their business. I saw what did this go. Not at you, Terry, but when they compare Gyokeres to Šeško, it was only about goals to be a good striker, but now it's not. Hypocritical from some. Oh, I agree that the hypocrisy is everywhere. I put a tweet out this morning asking people just to leave a reply about what does a good exit deal for Sancho, Anthony, and Garnacho look like? Because we did the Rashford deal, and the more that comes out about that deal, the better it is for us. Now, I did misspeak yesterday, and it was I'm doing a match reaction, the excitement of the deal. I just miscalculated something in my mind. I said that we're getting the 17 million pounds back for the sale, plus 40 million next year, 30 million next year, which means we're getting 47 million. If we sold him now, it's only 40 million. That's stupid maths, because we'd also saved the salary that we've booked out this year on him. So we would make more if we sold him now. That's true. I just messed up. I'm a human being like everybody else. That's another one, by the way, for people that say I never admit when I get something wrong. Right there. But for me, it's a case of people often speak out of both sides of their mouths without giving you any rationale. I've said all along that I think Šeško joining a much better team, you'll instantly see an increase on his output. I think he's got the ability to score easily 10 more goals plus across all competitions than what we all witnessed last year. And I feel the same about Hugo Ekitike. I think they're both players that people are looking at their numbers and I'm not sure if they're a guarantee. I'm not sure if they're a guarantee. It's true, but I've seen players with massive numbers, then numbers drop when they move to leagues because the technical ability isn't there. The physicality isn't there. And both of these players have got so much more to their game than just putting the ball into the back of the net. They're very well rounded. So I absolutely agree with you. But you're always going to get that with football fans are talking out of both sides of your mouths. It's just the way football fans behave. Whether people like it or not, it's what's going to go on. Why is this being reported by Fab in euros and not pounds? Fabrizio's in Europe. That's one thing. Depends on who he's working for as well. So I'll give you an example. David Ornstein always speaks about these deals in pounds, euros, and dollars. Why? Because the Athletic and the New York Times work together. So it depends on who's seeing it. Fabrizio may look at his analytics and have more of his followers that are not in England. They might, majority of them might be in Europe. Therefore, he's going to tweet and put out the language that best suits the people that follow him. So there's numerous reasons to why that can be done. Plus, it's a transaction that will probably be done in euros. So what football clubs do, what most rich people do. So we're going back to the banking days, people. I'm sorry to wind people up. But what big wealthy businesses that internationally trade do, what a lot of wealthy people that travel do, is you have currency accounts in your bank. So you have an account that's full of euros, you have an account that's full of US dollars, you'll have a pound sterling account, especially if you trade in England. You may have other denominations depending on where you trade. But the typical accounts I used to see was US dollars, euros, and pounds. And the reason for that, and clubs would hold currency. And sometimes you trade it because there's some days where you can make a lot of money. Okay, so one currency might go up or down, and I'd get loads of phone calls in the morning. Terry, can you sell all of my? I had one client once, he had like £7 million in euros. He's like, can you convert all my euros into dollars? And it was basically, he did it, and it made him like £90,000 profit in one transaction because one was stronger than the other. So they do this. But often they keep the currency there because if you need to pay a European club in euros, but you transfer it first, if you have to convert it, you lose points. Now you get very good rates when you're talking that level of transaction, but you still lose money. And then when you receive money, if they send it in euros and you receive it, but then you've got to convert it, you lose money. So clubs will typically often have euro accounts, USD accounts, and pounds accounts. So the transaction may actually take place completely and utterly in euros. So this happens when it comes to big business. It's not like going to Tesco's and buying a loaf of bread. So yes, it's frustrating. And I think the media do amplify that to try and make things sound bigger. But there's a reason that Fabrizio will report it one way. But clubs often deal in England in euros because we buy a lot of our players in euros. So we keep the money in euros so we're not losing money on the exchange rate is why we typically do it. By the way, if you haven't done so yet, please get the like button hit. We're nowhere near enough likes for this stream. Let's get that smash right now, people. Let's get the channel subscribed to, and let's get the bell notification on as well. You dealt with some of mine, Terry. Thank you. Did I now? we did. Yeah, maybe. So what we used to do for a lot of the players is that obviously we'll get paid in pounds. And that's what they used to beg us for. Can you do the best exchange rate possible? But they'd do that because sending it in pounds to their own bank, back to, say, Portugal or back to Germany or wherever it was, they'd always get screwed on the exchange rate. And that was how we sort of started our early relationship with building it with the international players is we spoke to our FX team and we were able to secure like world-class rates. So we were barely making any money on this, but it was more for the longer term gain, because what was happening in our market is the footballers would save up all their money all year and then just send it back to their home nation. So as a bank, we were losing that money, right? £5 million and it's gone. So what we were saying is, look, let's do the conversion rate really cheaply for them, build up the trust and build up the relationship. Then what we can start showing them is places where they can invest that money with us, where they can start earning a big yield. Because that's what most people did. They sent their money home. Some of it was for family and schools and stuff, but most of it just went into a bank and then into a savings account somewhere. So that's how we started building all that up. And that was where people like Nuno and, of course, Jota, God rest his soul. That's where they helped me, because they were the first guys to buy into all of this. And then they told their teammates and their friends and their agents. And yeah, it was great. So Anyway, I digress away from football for a moment and living back the good old years. The good old years. Ekitike for 80 million is a madness. Lacks almost any physical presence relative to his size. Technical, but will get found out in the Premier League. Monumental flop coming is what Ryan says here. Who agrees with Ryan? Let us know in the comment section right now, and we'll put that in. I'm actually going to timestamp Ryan's claim here. Ekitike to flop. Chelsea fan Ryan. I'm bookmarking that one. We're bookmarking that one. We can get your views. We can get your opinions on that as well. So let us know. Let us know what you think, people. L take is what the chosen 8 says here. Let's have a little look here. I agree. It's a lot. Ryan is waffling, is what's said here. Flop is what this United fan says. It's all mind games. Isak will be tempted to leave. You still think that's going to happen? Who in the comment section believes this? Who in the comment section thinks this is all a sort of ploy to get Isak? Does anybody still think that? Does anybody think it? Let me know. Terry, why are you wearing a shirt? It's my dad's 70th birthday. So I'm streaming now, but then going out for lunch and dinner and spending the day with my family. So yeah, I thought I'd put on a little shirt. I've got a nice pair of trousers on as well, as you can see. Look at that, proper trousers. I've still got slippers on right now though, as well. But I know you couldn't see them when I lifted them up. So yeah, dressing up. Gonna go out and have a nice day. Be back later with you guys though. Be back later with you guys. Excuse me. Oh, that water. It's repeating on me. Right. Let's have a little look here. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate that the messages to my lovely dad. Thank you very much indeed. The only thing flopping is this guy's package letting his... Oh, he's letting his missus down his package. I get what you mean now. I didn't understand it. I didn't want to read it out. So I didn't quite get it. And then I realized what it was. Thank you, CFC Collins, for encouraging everybody to hit the like button for us today. Please get that done. Now, we'll come back. We're going to take your calls. Have we shared the link? Is the link been shared? I thought I shared the link. If I didn't, I apologize. I've got a link here. If anybody wants to phone in and have their say, we are going to take some calls before the end of the show. Because obviously people want to have a chat about this. Yeah, it is. The link's already there. It's already pinned. I thought it was. I just didn't see anybody backstage. I want to touch on Gyokeres for a moment as well, because a lot of people are asking when's this going to happen. There's talk of deadlocks. There's talk of the deal falling through. You know, we spoke to Ben Jacobs on Friday, and as he said, there is no sign of this deal breaking down. He also states you also got to look at the fact that it's been weekends and predominantly Sundays for the past 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks where we have seen this deal sort of catch fire, if you like, and gain momentum and all of that jazz. But from my point of view and perspective, I think Arsenal fans should stay relaxed. I've said it all along. I think it's imminent. I think it's very, very close. I think the deal is minutes away, seconds away, moments away from like landing. And I get that Arsenal fans are frustrated that we're talking about, you know, we're sort of talking about 4, 5, 6 million, sorry, 3 or 4 million pounds. And yet they, oh, look, we went and paid exactly what Chelsea wanted for Noni. I get that train of thought. The problem is with that train of thought is that you're thinking about it in a very... so I'm sharing a link here. You're thinking about that in a very personal way. You're thinking about it based on how you value a player, not how your club does. You're kind of in your own feelings, as opposed to looking at this situation from the outside in. Your club was happy. I disagree with what they valued Noni Madueke at, but that's what your club valued him at. When it comes to Gyokeres, this man had a gentleman's agreement to leave for cheaper than your bid, and you've ended up increasing it to a certain level. What Arsenal don't want to be seen to be doing is continuing to creep up, pay more. And it isn't so much £2.5 million, I think, in cash that you're arguing over. It's the structure of these payments, and the structure is a massively important thing. And if Arsenal feel that Sporting are taking the piss, they have every right and they should be pushing back. I get people want the player in for pre-season. I get that some people have this view that I'm not an accountant. I don't care about the money that's being spent. But I think you should, especially the structure of the deal. Because Liverpool, by the way, they've paid more than people think they should have done. But it's within their wheelhouse and it's within their valuation. But if they were suddenly being pushed to spend more than they deemed the player to be valued, or if they were being pushed to have bad payment terms that they didn't want to agree to, or they thought were detrimental to the club, Liverpool Football Club would push back. Liverpool Football Club would walk away. And this is the one thing I've said for a while now, and I'll stand on this, is people sort of pick and choose when they want to behave like the club's winning more than them. And I think all of these things help you win on the football pitch. The behavior that your owners have, the professionalism they have, and all this jazz. I think they're all a very, very, very important part indeed. So again, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I would be relatively relaxed about this situation. It's going to drop at any moment. You're going to get the player. Yes, he's not flown out with your teammates yesterday to the Far East, but it is going to happen. I'm pretty sure of that. And I think in your heart of hearts, I think you are pretty sure of that as well, if we're being absolutely honest. Carl here says, reports said Sporting want Arsenal to pay the commission to Gyokeres' former clubs as a kid. Yeah, it's all these crazy things that Arsenal will sit there and go, right, it's done now. And then it'll be, actually, now we want you to pay this. And I went for a few business deals in the last 2 years. And KJ can attest to this. The stress we went through, it was nearly always almost done. And then something else would come up. And one side or one group would go, right, actually, we're going to push for something more in our favor. Oh, no, we were going to give you this. Now we're going to take this away. We were going to do that. And now we can't do this. We have this. And now we're not going to do that. And it's one of these things that just, it made the deals. They took a long time. It took an extra 6 months more than we wanted. It was exhausting. It cost more money because the legal fees. But this is just business. It happens. Things are never as basic, as arbitrary, as simple. They might be banal, but they're certainly not as simple and as easy and as straightforward as people like to make them out to be. They're really not. If you've ever done large-scale business-to-business sales, if you've ever sold an asset, if you've ever bought a business or bought a partner out of a business, just go through that process on 2 or 3 occasions, especially if you're not the A side. You'll start to understand football transfers so much more, give you more patience. It will make you far less angry because you'll start to understand. It's not like selling an iPod to somebody in Curry's. It isn't like selling a car. It isn't like selling double glazing. It isn't like somebody coming in. Again, I worked in banking. Somebody wanted a bank account. It was quite easy to sell it to them. When I started doing business to business, corporate business banking sales, selling payment rails, which are boring to people like you. So payment rails would be when you use Uber, Uber knows your card details, or it knows your Google Pay details, and it takes your money and it sends it into Uber, and then Uber takes that money and sends a bit of it here and a bit of it there and a bit of it there and a bit of it there. I had the company that I worked for a while. We was a subsidiary of a big bank. We provided the payment rails. It was like a white label solution so these companies could work. Those kind of sales were crazy because there was 10 other companies bidding and pitching in. It was amazing. It wasn't the same as, can I open a bank account? Yes, you can, sir. Sit down. Let me open you one. A fundamentally different process to go through. Difficult. Did you hear the news about Gyokeres' dad crying? Yeah, complete and utter bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. These are, again, I'll defend Arsenal here in the same way that I've defended Liverpool earlier in the show, the same way as I defend Man United, because I want to be consistent. There are certain stories that are put out there that when I see fans of that said club jumping on and enjoying, I can't help but think you're not in this social media game for anything other than cashing in on your own club. Because I've seen Arsenal fans share it saying, like, do we really want a player whose dad would do this? Acting like this story is real. It's horrendous. Like the Man United fans who pushed all the stories about Garnacho and the guys coming back to full-time training and Rashford coming back to training, and that meant the manager was a simp. You don't need to like Ruben Amorim. You don't need to like the way we're run. But why would you perpetuate lies against your club? And then when it's turned out it isn't true, you say nothing about it. You just leave it hanging out there. Something about that I find a little nasty, a little vile, a little disgraceful. And again, some of these guys are just Twitter faces, right? I don't know who they are, but they've got big accounts. They influence other people. And that's why Twitter is, I suppose, a little bit of a cesspit in that regard. So no, that story was absolutely ridiculous. I don't think anybody with an active or functioning brain believed that was true. Not a singular human being with a brain, I think, thought that was true. I can't believe that anybody thought that was true. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I don't believe it. And I won't believe it. Sorry, I'm just checking one thing here. Sorry, guys. One sec. Funny. Anyway. This year, from Isak to Ekitike is Suarez to Balotelli 2024. Ryan, you think it's that big of a come down? Wow. Interesting. You think 69 million pounds as a set fee is too much money? Come on, man. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe it? Do you like in your heart? In your heart, are you believing that, Ryan? I think you're pulling our leg, mate. I think you are pulling our leg. That's just my gut feeling. My gut feeling is you are pulling our leg. I think you're rage baiting the audience here. I think you're rage baiting the audience here. Let's do a bit of a recap in case you're just tuning in to the show now live. And that is that Liverpool have agreed a deal that is a base of around 69 million plus add-ons. Been reported to go as high as 90 to 95 million euros by Fabrice Hawkins and Fabrizio Romano. Nothing new yet from David Ornstein. Nothing new from Ben Jacobs or anybody along those lines in relation to the deal. But the here we go has landed. The full agreement between the clubs is here. And according to Fabrizio, and I'll quote him again on this, his words were, Ekitike only wanted the Liverpool move. How happy are you with this, Liverpool fans? How excited are you about this deal? Plus, what do people now think this means for the Isak deal? Is it dead? Is it buried? Is it over? Could there be a sting in the tail? We want to hear from you. We want your thoughts. We want your feelings. We're going to go to some calls now on the show. We want to hear what people have got to say. I'm going to put these earphones on. I'm going to hold them, though, because I don't want to mess my hair up. Because I've done the hair today. All right. They actually fit all right like that. Let me tighten them a bit. All right. And see if I can make them sit that way. I don't know if they will. I'll just hold it when I'm talking, but there we go. Right. First caller today is going to be Bruno. Bruno is coming on the show with us this morning. I don't know who he supports. Try to let us know, people, in the private chat when you come in to speak. But Bruno's here. What are you saying, Bruno?
I've been on this show before. I'm a Liverpool fan. Now,
Welcome
what did I say?
Go on, mate.
You've seen me speak with you before in that Haaland to Liverpool video, if you remember.
Yep.
Not sure. First of all, to Liverpool fans who are underestimating Ekitike and comparing him to Nunes, I've got to say this, and I don't care if you don't like this. If he ends up killing it, then you lot won't be able to say zilch. Nada. Nothing. Because I'm seeing a lot of Liverpool fans, and I don't like this, comparing him to Nunes and saying that he's rubbish before he's even kicked the ball. That's not exactly very nice, is it?
It's not nice. You're right.
Secondly, I like the business that we've done so far. I like the way my club is behaving. Now, back in 2021, I said that we needed to behave like a big club. We were acting like a small club, and I didn't like that. We're behaving how we were supposed to behave in 2021 season. Remember what happened that season? We didn't strengthen defence and we fell off a cliff.
Correct.
And as I've told you on this show 100 times, we don't celebrate finishing top 4. We don't do that here. We are the bride. We are the ones receiving the trophy. We don't give the trophy away. We don't do that here. This transfer window has been absolutely brilliant. If we get another striker in there and a defender, because there's rumours about Konate trying to go to Real Madrid. If this guy wants to leave, send him off. Because I don't want to have this Trent situation happening again. If he wants to leave, £50 million, 50 to 70 mil, and they can have him. Actually, no, I'm going to be really strict with them now. You want him? 70 mil. Don't care if he's on his last year. 70 mil, and you can have him. Liverpool need to stop doing too much kissy. Yeah? We are one of the biggest clubs in the world. We need to put our foot down and show Real Madrid who's boss. As for these Isak rumours, now I'm going to say this now. Newcastle fans, Liverpool, we've been through this. We've been through this. What you're going through, we've been through this with Torres. We've been through this with Suarez. We've been through this with Coutinho. I could go on and on. I could go on and on. We've been through what you've been through, what you're going through. We've been through this. So there's no need to throw abuse. I've blocked George already on Coppish TV for talking about his wife. I'm not afraid to do that over there, you know. So criticism, perfectly fine. And if you start throwing abuse, bye-bye, good night, Vienna, done. Right, showing you no second chances, you know. Criticism, perfectly fine. But if you start throwing abuse, bye-bye, good night, Vienna, done. Au revoir.
Listen,
So that's all.
I agree. There's no room for abuse here. I totally agree with you on that, my friend. You're happy with this deal, though, Bruno. You're looking at this. You're excited.
I'll give the player a chance. I don't like the way our fans are going, saying that he's rubbish, saying that he's. And that Chelsea fan that you just saw in the comments,
yep,
he could end up with egg on his face.
He could. He could end up with egg on his face. There's no doubt about that. Listen, Bruno, I appreciate you coming on, having your say, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, bro. Thank you very much indeed. Bruno there. He's got some fire. Tom Little's with us. How you doing, mate? Good morning. You're on mute, by the way.
Hello.
How you doing? So you've gone on sort of signed a striker that you said you didn't want in relation to young and not quite at the races yet. What's your thoughts on it now that it's actually done, actually here?
I'm not going to flip-flop and say now all of a sudden I'm completely on board. No, my God, it's the best sign you could have made. I still wish it was Isak. And, you know, you heard all the stuff from yesterday and that maybe there's this world where we spy two strikers and it's the pair of them. Highly doubt it. But I've had to reframe how I look at Ekitike. If I look at Hugo Ekitike as baby Isak, I don't see it. I don't think he'll ever be baby Isak. I don't think he'll ever be clinical enough to be a baby Isak type where you can see them getting 25 to 30 a season, turning up and scoring scoring constantly in these big games, all that stuff. But if I look at Hugo Ekitike as I've tried to frame him as like a Roberto Firmino type in an Isak body. I can sort of see then why you'd want that deal because his link-up was very good. His movement's very good. He can score. It's just rather than it being the 25 to 30, it's the 15-ish, which can work if you get your Rodrigo in, who can push the boat out and get you the 20-25. I think Hugo Ekitike is very much a commitment to the wingers being your main goal scorers. So we're going to give it another 2 years of Salah getting all the chances and the left winger getting the chances. And then we're going to have Ekitike and Wirtz basically doing link up in the middle and setting everything together in that sense. And in that case, it worked. I still think it's a little bit expensive. You know, it's not my money, so I won't really care in the grand scheme of things. But I do think that, 95 million euros?
Yes.
It's a bit expensive there. But if he comes in, he's only 22,
Well,
23.
it's 60. I mean, the base fee you're paying is £69 million.
See, that's not as bad because add-ons. I think me and you have the same thing on add-ons. I'm quite happy to pay all the add-ons in the end because it means we've done all right. We're only going to pay all the add-ons if we win stuff.
Yeah, but the time the add-ons come in, just like in Boomo for Man United, nobody's going to be talking about it because you've won things, you're winning things, you're still at the top. No one cares, if that makes sense by then.
So if that's the base fee, that looks a fair amount better, to be fair. So look, I'm not going to lie and say I'm the happiest. I still wanted Isak. I still wanted to commit to having Isak as the guy that everything flows through. But Hugo Ekitike, it should in theory give us a bit of wiggle room with the Rodrigo deal, which now becomes the priority. And you never know. Look, I don't believe it, but the whole thing that Liverpool could sign both Isak and Ekitike, this window has been mad already. I can't rule it out, and I do think now that Hugo Ekitike is in, maybe not this summer, but in the next summer or even the summer after that, Isak could be on the table then, and we could move Ekitike to a different position or have him in a different role. But in the moment, I'm relatively all right with it because it means that I think I get the plan of action with the signing. I think it's going to be a case of we're bringing him in to drop in, link up, score a couple goals, but it's mainly to facilitate for Salah and Rodrigo to be getting the main bulk of the goals. And hope maybe he comes in and proves me wrong. I'll be the happiest person if he does that.
Yeah, and listen, I think he may. I get your PTSD. I understand completely and utterly why Liverpool fans have got this fear of, how do I say this? Not doing enough this summer, not retaining the title, buying a developmental player that doesn't develop and doesn't get better over someone that's ready-made that comes in and scores. That's because in the more recent times, that is what you have seen happen. But I've also seen Liverpool go out and buy ready-made players that were meant to take you to the next level and then not work as well. I've seen you go out and buy strikers. Everyone's gone, he had a great year in the Prem, or he's done this, he's done that. I remember watching you guys go and spend 50 odd million on Andy Carroll. But at the time, he was killing it in the Premier League, as an example, when he was like ready to go and it didn't work. Now, I think that you can look at it twofold in that regard. I think Ekitike is going to kill it for you guys personally. I'm looking at this. Yes, it's better for me than watching you get Isak, because Isak is because of where Isak sits in the game right now and how well he's doing. But that all being said, it's not like you've gone and just bought a scrub. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, he's a much better footballer than Nunes. I don't see the comparisons between him and Nunes because Darwin Nunes is a very limited footballer. So he was only ever going to be good at one thing, and when we built the system around to maximise the one thing, he wasn't very good at that anyway. Mm. So I don't see the comparisons here because Hugo Ekitike as a football looks very technically sound, which is why I'm more on board with the idea that he's a Firmino and an Isak body.
Yeah, I do think you're gonna see a lot of Firmino in him because he can facilitate. But at the same time, I think he got 30 GA in 45 games last year. I mean, it's really not. People are talking about him like he's Rasmus Højlund. Genuinely, the way he's being spoken about, you would think he's Rasmus Højlund, and he's just so much better than that.
To be fair, I've always been a bit sort of iffy on the deal because of the history with Frankfurt. The Frankfurt have like a Ponzi scheme with strikers. I've never seen anything like it. The amount of money they make from strikers that never go on to hit the mark. That's more of the PTSD than the Nunes. Luka Jovic, Kolo Muani, Andre Silva, Sebastian Haller, even Marmoush, they got a lot of money for him. And I know he's been okay so far, but still, 70 odd million euros. So I was always looking at that going, I'm not, I don't know if I want to try and be the one to fix that, but we're going for it. Like we've got to back these data guys. They've smashed it so far this summer. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on this one. They clearly see something in them. And, if you add, like I said, if you add your Rodrigo on the left, and all of a sudden I'm looking at Hugo Ekitike and Florian Wirtz doing nice little interplay with each other to then feed Salah, who can get me 25 to 30, and Rodrigo can get me 20 to 25. And then I've got Wirtz and Ekitike who can pop up with a combined 25 to 30 from their positions. All of a sudden, I've got no worries with the goal scoring side of it, and it's a bit more fluid. I do think this is, I don't know, like Sam won't like this. This is us trying to imitate parts of the PSG system. I think you've seen that with the elements of what we've done this summer, and especially in the first pre-season game. I think this is us trying to take elements of that style. You know, Frimpong being such an attacking fullback imitates Hakimi. Ekitike being that kind of guy who'll drop in and link up. That's what Ousmane Dembele done to a point. But I think we're going to do it in a slightly different way, where the wingers are the main goal scorers rather than the centre forward false nine type. So it's going to be an imitation in style, and I'm on board for it. You know, Arne Slot has earned the right to do this. And the one thing I will say is, I know a lot of people have been going on about, you know, the amount of overhaul for the title winning squad. It's not normal. Title winning squads don't normally change this much, but this is the same manager who in Holland sold half his team and then won the league the next year. So he knows how to handle squad overhaul. As long as he can implement his philosophies and his ideals, there shouldn't be much of a problem. So I'm glad we're getting him in for pre-season as well. That was something that was I was a bit worried about, because we had a bit of a dodgy pre-season last season. I know we aren't to win the league, but it'd be nice if we're going to get all these signings and they work together in pre-season.
Yeah, no, I think it is good to get a player in for pre-season. If you can get a player in for pre-season, then it's good to get a player in for pre-season. I always think that's important to do. I want to just check something. 1 second. So I want to get my dates right when I say this. So, I mean, look, United didn't win the league. We actually came second to Blackburn Rovers, but it was a title campaign where we were 1 goal away from winning it. We'd won the previous 2 league campaigns as well, and I think a lot of people forget that Man United then got rid of a lot of our star players and promoted our class of '92 properly, and we lost our opening game to Villa 3-1. It's where the famous quote from Alan Hansen came, that you don't win anything with kids. So some teams have been champions and had overhauls. I remember Man United winning the Premier League in 2007 and going out in that summer and signing 3 or 4 brand new first team players and sort of fringe players also played. Like Andy Robertson, have you got rid of him, by the way? Is he still there?
No. I think he'll stay in the Simicast go.
And this is the kind of thing you'll see, right? Is that you might bring a player in like Gyokeres. He may not actually start the season. He may get a little bit of Klopp treatment where it might be 2 or 3 months until he's actually. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, these things happen in football, and I've seen very good teams before where they've narrowly missed out on winning league titles and need to change, or where they've won league titles but they want to inject something new. These things happen, and I think it can be good. The only caveat, the only slight concern I would have is it's a lot of new bodies. There could be a little bit of not gelling, which is why what you might see is Frimpong start the season, but maybe not Gyokeres. What you might see, you would expect Wirtz to start, but what Slot might go with is say, right, first few games, Szoboszlai might start because he knows the team and the system, and then Wirtz is coming off the bench. And so I don't know if you'll start your first game of the Prem with all 5 or 6 of your new signings starting in the team. It may be a case of 2 or 3 start and 2 or 3 are on the bench, and you integrate them over time.
I certainly think if, like, you get, you know, a Rodrigo, and I could see Gakpo starting a lot of games still, because you know how the system works, and he had a good season last season. Obviously, I think Diaz is going. And the other one, I definitely think Bradley will start a lot more games than people realise. I don't think people quite understand how big on Conor Bradley Arne Slot actually is. So I wouldn't be shocked if Conor Bradley ends up starting.
Yeah, it could be Gyokeres. Well, it could be Gyokeres that starts, and it could be Frimpong that's on the bench. Rarely do you see a manager, if you sign 5 or 6 new players in the summer, rarely do you see, and I'm talking the bigger teams, all of those new players start the first game straight away. And how do you know that? Because we're all always so disappointed. Like, I wanted to see him. I wanted to see him. We always do that. But there's a reason and a rationale for it. I mean, Pep went out and spent £300 million in January, or 300 million pounds. And barring Mamouche, we barely saw any of the free players. You know, whether or not we see them this season is another thing. But that's so normal. They rarely throw them straight in, because strikers are a little bit different, because you can have a bad game and still win football matches for your club.
Yeah.
where other positions you get caught. We saw young Diego Leon yesterday, really decent on the ball, but in the first half, caught out of position 4 or 5 times. That's just repetition of playing. So you could imagine you might start the Premier League and go, we really fancy this kid to be a star. You might not start him, though, because he might not be ready, especially defensively. So it's going to be an interesting one. A few super chats here. First one says, Ekitike will abuse your eyes in front of goal. Remember,
ironically, he's actually all right with the big chances. It's just he takes way too many of them stupid pot shots, which hopefully you can coach out. But the chances that Nunes missed that maybe want to gouge my eyes out, Ekitike seemingly doesn't miss them, which is already a major improvement.
I hear you. John here says, Terry, love the channel, just subscribed and would love to call in to talk about Arsenal. Get Eze in and Arsenal fans will be happy. We'll do some more call-ins. Might do one later tonight. See what time I get back. I'm obviously out with the family today for my dad's 70th, but we're back a little bit later. Rems here says, rival fans are super salty. I love it, is what he says here. Look, I want to thank every single person who has tuned in. Sorry, I can't take any more calls, but I actually have to go. I've got to literally finish this and jump straight in the car. So I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. We're going to be back live this afternoon, I think around 5 o'clock-ish. Actually, what I'm going to do, because KJ is going to be hosting that for me, is I'm going to set it up now. We're just going to put it in for like 5 o'clock. Okay, we're going to put it in for 5 o'clock. The thumbnail will get done later. And what I want you guys to do now is I'm going to redirect you guys to it. Get yourselves across to that video. Get yourselves there to support KJ a little bit later on today. That'd be amazing if you could do that. Please make sure before you leave here that you like, though. Make sure that you are subscribing and get the bell notification button turned on as well. But until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.